I've seen a lot in my 30 years. I've traveled. I've seen hardship. I've witnessed moments of incredible kindness, and acts of casual cruelty that can make you question everything. I thought I had a pretty good handle on the spectrum of human behavior. But when my eyes landed on a German Shepherd puppy chained to a tree, standing on a bed of glowing, red-hot embers, I thought, okay. I don't think it gets worse than this. I was completely and utterly shocked. The world just stopped. The air left my lungs and, for a second, all I could do was stare, paralyzed by a sight so horrific it felt ripped from a nightmare. That particular Tuesday had started with the mundane rhythm that had come to define my life. I woke up, made coffee, and sat at my desk in the spare bedroom I'd converted into a home office. As a technical writer, my days were a structured dance of translating complex engineering jargon into palatable user manuals. It was a good living, stable and quiet. But there were days the silence of my house felt less like peace and more like a void. I'd moved to this sleepy corner of the Midwest a year prior, chasing a cliché, the quiet life. A break from the relentless hustle of the city. I'd found the quiet, but I was beginning to realize that quiet and lonely were uncomfortable neighbors. By 5 p.m., my brain was fried. The words on the screen had started to blur into an alphabet soup of acronyms and schematics. That was my cue. Running was my release valve, the one part of my day that was purely physical, a necessary counterpoint to the cerebral, isolating nature of my work. I pulled on my running shorts and a worn t-shirt, laced up my favorite pair of shoes, the ones with the garish neon green soles I secretly loved, and headed out the door. The air outside was perfect. A gentle breeze rustled the leaves of the maple trees lining my street, carrying the scent of freshly cut grass from a neighbor's lawn. My route was a familiar friend, a 2-mile loop through quiet suburban streets, followed by a long, winding stretch along the dirt path that skirted the edge of Tanglewood State Forest. The forest was my favorite part. Pavement gave way to packed earth, manicured lawns to a wild, untamed explosion of green. Towering oaks, ancient and gnarled, formed a canopy that dappled the path in shifting patterns of sunlight and shadow. The air here was cooler, smelling of pine needles and damp soil. It was primal, real. I hit the dirt path and fell into a comfortable rhythm, the steady thud of my feet, the in and out of my breathing, the beat of music in my ears. It was meditation. My mind, usually cluttered with deadlines and technical specs, began to empty. I thought about dinner, a movie I wanted to see, and then, about nothing at all. This was the peace I'd moved here for. I was deep into the forest trail, probably 3 miles from my front door, when the first discordant note broke the harmony. It was faint, almost lost beneath the driving beat of my music. Laughter. I slowed to a jog, pulling one earbud out and cocking my head. It wasn't the happy, carefree laughter of kids playing. This was different, harsh, guttural, mocking. A man's laugh joined by another, higher, frantic. Then came the other sound. A yelp, high-pitched, desperate. It sliced through the peaceful air like a knife, the sound of an animal in pain. My blood ran cold. The two sounds played off each other in a grotesque symphony, mocking laughter followed by the staccato of terrified yelps. It didn't make sense. It was wrong, fundamentally wrong. I'd seen people in the forest before, hikers, birdwatchers, teenagers looking for privacy. But this felt different, predatory. I stopped running completely, standing in the middle of the path. The laughter continued, bouncing eerily off the thick trunks of the trees. It seemed to come from a clearing just off the main trail, maybe 50 yards in. The puppy's cries were continuous now, a heartbreaking litany of pain. Then, as suddenly as it began, the laughter stopped. The silence that followed was almost worse. Only the whimpering remained, weak now, drained of the energy for full-blown yelps. That was the sound of defeat. A war raged inside me. A primal part of my brain screamed, "Turn around. Run back to the safety of your street, your quiet house." But my feet wouldn't move. I couldn't unhear that sound. Leaving a creature to suffer alone was impossible. My conscience, stronger than my fear, took over. "Hello?" I called, my voice sounding small in the vastness of the woods. Only the whimpering answered. That settled it. I plunged off the path, pushing through a curtain of low-hanging branches and thorny bushes that clawed at my bare arms and legs. "I'm coming," I muttered, more to myself than to whatever was making the noise. The forest floor was uneven, roots caught my shoes. Then a smell hit me. Acrid, foul, smoke. Not the comforting smell of a campfire, but chemical, choking, and mixed with something else. Burning hair. A knot of dread tightened in my stomach. My mind searched for rational explanations. Maybe a trash fire? Maybe plastic burning? But I knew I was lying to myself. The whimpering was close now. I saw the smoke first. A lazy, gray-white plume curling up from behind an overgrown thicket. My heart hammered. I took a few steps, pushed aside a large fern. And my world tilted. The clearing was a circle of hell, 10 feet in diameter, smoldering charcoal briquettes, small flames licking the edges. In the center, the source of the crying, a German shepherd puppy, still clumsy with oversized paws and floppy ears. A strip of black cloth blindfolded him. A rusted chain was wrapped around his neck, tethered to a stake at the base of an oak tree. Just long enough to let him move inside the circle, but not a single inch beyond. The ground was fire. He lifted a paw, whimpered, lowered it, shrieked, jerked it up. Then another paw, then another, over and over in a relentless cycle. Every inch of his world was pain. And someone, some sick person, had planned it. She looked up at me, her expression serious but not without hope. He's in critical condition, Paul. The next 24 hours are crucial, but he's young, and he seems to be a fighter. We have a chance. She took out a scanner and ran it over his neck and back. I'm checking for a microchip. We both held our breath. She shook her head. Nothing. No chip. No collar. No tags. Just this. She pointed to the broken link of chain still hanging loosely from his neck. Gently, she unclipped the rusted remnant and placed it on the counter. It lay there, a grim testament to the cruelty he had endured. We both stared at it for a long moment. I've been a vet for 3 years now, Jasmine said quietly, her voice laced with weary sadness. I've seen neglect that would turn your stomach. I've seen animals beaten, starved, but I have never seen anything this methodical, this sadistic. They were laughing, I repeated, the memory making me feel sick. A single tear escaped her eye and tracked down her cheek. She wiped it away with an angry, swift motion. Monsters, she whispered. For the next hour, she worked tirelessly. She meticulously cleaned each of his 4 paws, flushing them with antiseptic solution and applying a soothing, silver-infused cream to fight infection and promote healing. She then wrapped each paw in thick, soft bandages. I just watched, leaning against the wall, the adrenaline finally seeping out of me and leaving behind a profound exhaustion and a deep, aching pain in my feet and hands. It was only when the puppy was stable, sleeping under the influence of pain medication, his breathing deep and regular, that Jasmine finally turned her full attention to me. Her professional gaze softened as she truly took in my state for the first time. It traveled from my sweat-streaked face down to my hands. Paul, she said gently, let me see your hands. I looked down, as if noticing them for the first time. My right palm, where I'd grabbed the hot chain, was an angry, swollen red, a large blister already forming in the center. My left was a mess of scratches from the rocks in the underbrush. Her eyes then fell to my feet. She audibly gasped. And your shoes? My God, your feet, you ran through the fire for him? I just nodded, feeling a strange wave of embarrassment. It was the only way to get to him. She shook her head slowly, a look of raw, unfeigned admiration in her eyes. You're a hero, Paul. No, I mumbled, looking at the floor. I couldn't not do something. Come here, she said, her tone gentle but firm. She led me to a deep basin sink in the corner of the room. Turning on the cool water, she took my hands in hers and began to carefully clean the wounds. Her touch was warm and steady, and as she worked, a strange, unexpected current passed between us, a jolt of connection in the sterile, quiet room. It was a silent acknowledgement of the shared trauma and triumph of the last few hours. When she looked up to bandage my palm, our eyes met and held for a long moment. The world, which had been a place of chaos and horror just an hour before, suddenly felt centered. Your feet need to be looked at by a doctor, a human doctor, she said, a small smile playing on her lips. You have serious burns. I'm not leaving him. I replied quietly but resolutely. Her smile widened. I didn't think you would. Okay. He's stable, but he needs to stay here. I'll need to keep him for at least a week, maybe longer. He'll need round-the-clock monitoring, IV antibiotics, and daily bandage changes. It's going to be a long road. Whatever it takes, I said without a moment's hesitation. I'll cover every cent of it. Looking at that small, bandaged creature, who had been shown the absolute worst of humanity, I felt an overwhelming sense of responsibility. More than that, I felt ownership. He was my dog now.
If this tale moved you, if you felt the tension, the heartbreak, and the triumph, please support our channel by hitting the like button and subscribing. Your support means the world to us and helps us bring more thrilling, emotional, and inspiring stories your way. Leave a comment below and let us know what you think. Do you believe dogs have an extraordinary sixth sense? Share your thoughts and personal stories with us. Thank you for watching, and we'll see you in the next video.